Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. So, if you remember when the Russians came and said, well, the British intelligence or the British Navy was involved in the attacks on the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines in the Baltic Sea, I was like, okay, that's nice, but can you bring the evidence now? You had your little statement, now bring the evidence. Then they didn't provide anything, but neither the West asked for any. They said nothing to see here, we don't care. We have our own investigation, which is still there. Nevertheless, remember on the 28th, I think, on the Saturday morning, there were 16 drones attacking Sevastopol, the Russian Navy fleet over there, and they did some damage and so on, and then the Russians were able to, according to the Russians, retrieve some fragments of the blown up drones, and they were able to, by the evidence they got, to figure out where the drones, the route of the drones, and they concluded that, oh my God, is the British, again, intelligence services or Royal Navy or something in Ukraine, and they orchestrated, organized, and all this attack. And again, I was like, okay, that's very nice speech, but I would like to hear about the evidence that you have now. Come on, bring it on. Well, Maria Zakarova, that fantastic, intelligent woman, she said, well, you know what, we're going to bring you the evidence, Emil. All right, let's see. And not only to me, to you too, and to the UK ambassador. And she's very, very feisty today. I don't know what happened last night, but I don't want to guess. This article comes from Al Mayadeen, and this is the title: Russia to submit proof of UK ambassador about October 29th attack, Zakarova says. And she says that the British Defense Ministry's excessively quick response, which was already a rather telling sign, was another point Maria Zakarova brought up. So the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakarova said Russia will submit evidence of Britain's involvement in the attack on the Black Sea Fleet base in Sevastopol and the act of sabotage against the Nord Stream pipelines to Deborah Bronard, the British ambassador to Moscow, and will then make the basic information public. Yay! Twitter! Anyway, so she's gonna provide it to the British ambassador, and then she's gonna make it public to me, you, and everybody else. And I'm quoting, of course, there can be no doubt that British intelligence services were involved in the terrorist attack on the Black Sea Fleet base in Sevastopol on October 29th and the act of sabotage against the Nord Stream pipeline. They will not be left without a reaction. We have stated this in the UN Security Council. We spoke about that publicly. And of course, as I have already said, the British ambassador will be summoned and given the relevant materials. I promise you that basically the same materials that will be handed over as evidence to the British side also be made available to the public at large. Zakarova said, good job, we love truth, we love it. So, and I'm quoting again, in this particular case, we will comply with certain procedural formalities. As soon as the summoned ambassador has visited our building in Smolenskaya Square, we will share this information. It will be published on our resources, the Foreign Ministry's website, and accounts on social networks, she added. Great! Transparency. Remember, we love transparency. So, additionally, Zakarova called attention to the British Defense Ministry's overly hasty response, which was already a rather telling sign. Well, she said that they answered too quickly, like they do not know anything about the attacks here, talking about the Sevastopol attack, saying, well, when that happened, they were not, it was not us, we don't know anything about it. But she said when the Russians announced, hey, the British were involved in the sabotage of Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2, nobody said anything, but now they said it. So somehow she makes the the conclusion, she draws the conclusion that is the the Brits were the ones that just gave it away, that it was them. It says that Zakarova emphasized that by making an impromptu denial of involvement in attack on the Black Sea Fleet base, Britain had put itself in a vulnerable position. And it says they argue they had nothing to do with it, with the attack. They should have at least asked what evidence we have. But they have in fact exposed themselves by making such a zealous and snap claim about their innocence. I reckon it can be also added to the heap of evidence the British side's inadvertent confession. And it says this comes after Russia suspended its commitment to the grain deal, and after the Russian army accused Ukraine of a massive drone attack on its Black Sea Fleet. Russia made the announcement while the UN urged the deal to remain in effect. Well, remains, doesn't remain. You use the, according to the Russians, use the safe corridor for the vessels to fly the drones, and then you just veer towards. They think that was a weasel attack, but on the other hand, I'm like, okay, that's war. On the other hand, okay, then if it's war, the Russians will do what they know best. Anyway, they restarted the participation in the grain deal today. So it was what, 1 day and a half, the whole thing. The problem here is I'm waiting for that evidence, and I hope it's not flimsy. But what kind of evidence you will have? Because you will have only one side, Russia in this case, coming out and saying, you know what, we have evidence that this. How can you counter that evidence? How can you verify it? Because the other side is going to say, BS, nothing is true. We deny everything. What the Russians are going to do? I'm assuming what they're going to say to us we can't verify, but if she takes all that, let's say, to the objective United Nations body of weasels, then they might vote on it or something, if they really provide the evidence, if there's the evidence, obviously, and not exaggerations and interpretations, because if it's interpretation and exaggerations, then you can't make things up like that. You can't I reach a conclusion, yeah, but everything is on maybe, could have, might, and all that, allegedly, reportedly, and all that. It doesn't work that way in this kind of investigation. I'm guessing as well. So I'm waiting for the Russians to give us that information. And on the other hand, I don't think the Russians would be, not that they would not make things up. They make things up. But why would they focus on Great Britain? I mean, there's no smoke without a fire, smoke somewhere, there's a fire there, the same. Why? And then what's the retaliatory measures Russia will, could, ought to take against Great Britain? Nothing. Are they gonna do what? What are they gonna do? They're gonna talk, and the Brits are gonna say it wasn't us. It was not us. So, good job. I'm waiting. Good job with these guys coming out and saying that they will share it with us. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a very flimsy argument. But let's see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.